G'day guys and welcome back to Reactive Videos. It's good to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about those new cards being released in the new set, Rise of the Duelists, the Dragma cards. Today they're being very hyped. I can see why people like them, but I can see there's going to be a few issues with them. But we'll have a chat about that during the video. Stick around and let's have a look. So, the Dragma cards coming out from Rise of the Duelist. What an exciting deck. They look beautiful. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be fun. And I can see a lot of duelists jumping in on this. What I can tell you is this deck's designed to, or this archetype rather, is designed to break down your opponent's boards. So the main fusion monster of this archetype can actually be fused using your opponent's monsters on board and your own, which is very exciting. One of the limitations to this deck though is that it will lock you out of your extra deck at some point during the gameplay with this archetype effects cards. So what I can see is a lot of rituals being ran in this deck, which really excites me because I absolutely love rituals. They're my favourite type of card. It'd be good to see them getting back into the game a little bit more. Look, this deck's really going to take it off somewhere. I really think this is going to be meta relevant. So let's go into each of the card effects and we'll discuss about each individual card effect and what they do. What I'll do is just firstly apologise. There is a lot of card effects to go through. If you get bored, just pause them and read them yourself and get through to the end because I've got some gameplay to show you. And I think you're going to be really excited about what we have to come. Righto, let's see our first card. Albus the Nullius Filius. If this card is normal or special summon, you can discard one card. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using this card on the field and monsters your opponent controls as fusion material. This card is straight up broken. It doesn't even target for a start. It just uses your opponent's monsters as fusion material. It doesn't even say when you have to fuse into a monster that it has to be a Dragma card. It says it can be just a fusion monster. So you can use this for anything. That in itself is absolutely amazing. What a card. Absolutely brilliant, and it looks so cool. Let's have a look at our next card. Oh, okay, there's the fusion monster. So, it's the level 8 Dark Dragon fusion monster. Attack 2500, defense 2000. So it says it needs obviously Albus the Nullius Filius as one of its fusion materials, and one monster with 2500 or more attack. So that's obviously the card that you would fuse into using the previous card we just saw. Let's read the effects of this fusion monster. So it gains attack equal to the total original levels of the monsters used as material for this card's fusion times 100. Okay, so that's going to be insane for a start. After this card is fusion summoned for the rest of the turn, it is unaffected by activated effects from any other monster that's special summoned from the extra deck. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can take one Dragon monster or one Albus Nullius Filius from your extra deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So it even has recovery. Guys, just from the two cards we've seen so far, we're looking at some really strong monsters in this archetype. I think we should start getting really excited about this. Okay, let's see our next card. Okay, so it's another level 4 light spellcaster, Ecclesia, the Dragma Saint. So its effects are, you can use 1 and 2 effects of this card name once per turn. If a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Well, that's pretty good. That's a quick special summon. Its second effect, if this is normal or special summoned, you can add one Dragma card from your deck to your hand, except this card. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So there it is, guys. There's that weakness I was talking about. I'm just calling it a weakness for now. It may not be. We can play around the fact that it locks you out of your extra deck after that effect is used. That's where I was saying that I can see a lot of ritual cards being used with this deck because it gives you further options and further extenders. I can really see that a lot of people are going to be running things like Necros or the likes of, it could be, well, really any of the ritual monsters that can cause any of these chain effects to occur. Okay, so continuing along, let's go to our next monster. Here it is. Theo, the Dragma Ironhammer. Okay, so this card, attack of 800 and defense 1500. Its effect is you can only use 1 and 3 effects of this card's name once per turn each. If a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Another good one, cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. That's brilliant because it means that we can keep this card on field for further plays down the track. Yes, it means it's going to keep getting attacked, but remember, if it's special summoned in defense, it can't be destroyed by battle. It's not leaving the field, so it's not so bad. Its third effect, you can target one face-up monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Until the end of this turn, this card gains 600 attack, and if it does, the target loses 600 attack. So really, this card is like the hidden beat stick. So it has the effect that, it's going to dwindle your opponent's monster's attack. It's going to then obviously boost its attack if it's in attack mode. And it's going to be harder for your opponent to try and beat over this anyway. So that's not a bad card. I could say that's probably our small monster beat stick, I'd almost say. Okay, our next card. Okay, so Anon the Dragma Oracle. So a level 4 light spellcaster. Only small attack of 1,000, but its defense is 1,800. You can only use 1 and 3 effects of this card name once per turn each. Its first effect is, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, so we've seen that with a few cards now. So it seems like this is definitely the going second deck. Because obviously if your opponent has monsters from the extra deck, you're going to special summon this out. Its second effect, cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. Again, like the others we saw. Its third effect, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Dragma monster from your deck, except obviously this card. So that's good. It brings out further monsters. That's good because what that means for us is we're going to have further monsters that can't be destroyed by battle or card effect on the field, as these cards have already shown us. So what's our next card? Fleur de Lis, the Dragma Knight, a level 8 spellcaster, attack of 2,500 and defense 2,500. Okay, so we're looking at obviously now the bigger monsters. These are the ones that will probably be brought out from these smaller monsters, of course. Let's read its effects. So first and second effects of this card name once per each turn. During the main phase, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, quick effect. You can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if you control another Dragma monster, you can negate the effects of one face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn. Okay, so firstly it says during the main phase, if a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, quick effect. So, this is actually almost like a hand trap. It's a quick effect. It can happen during your opponent's turn, and it can negate their effects, which can put a dent on their combos or whatever it may be. So it's another card to have in hand that you probably want on their turn, not really on your turn. You don't really want to draw into this card. Its second effect, when your Dragma card declares an attack, you can make all your Dragma cards you control gain 500 attack. Okay, so it's just a little kicker on the end of it. Not a bad little effect. It means you get, if this card attacks, for example, it's going to be a 3,000 beat stick. Not bad. Let's see our next card. Maximus Dragma, the level 8 light spellcaster effect monster, attack 1,500, defense 3,000. Okay, so here's our shield. Okay, so its effects, so you can use 1 and 2 effects of this card's name once per turn each. Its first effect, you can banish one fusion, synchro, XYZ or link monster from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. Okay. So that's another card you probably don't really want to see in your first hand. You want to see it later on in play, purely because you can banish either of those cards from your graveyard. So say if you've got cards sent from your extra deck to the graveyard, which these cards do, you're going to banish them and get this card special summoned. It's pretty straight up. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. Also send 2 monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 monsters from their extra deck to the graveyard. Okay, so what I was just saying then, you'd probably use the effects of these backwards. You'd probably use the second effect first, sending the cards from the extra deck to the graveyard. And obviously, if you had this card searched, you could use this card to banish those cards to special summon it. So either way, you're going to have some sort of recyclability through this card. What's our next one? Tetradragmaton, the Heart of Dogma. Okay, so it's not Dragma, it's a Dogma card. It's a level 11 light spellcaster, 3,200 to 3,200 defense. So this is quite the beat stick. It's got some real power behind this one. Obviously, not a card you want to draw into. It says it cannot be normal summon set. Must be first special summoned by its own effect. You can target 4 Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, and or Link monsters from either graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish those targets. So, we've already talked about the fact that we're using cards from graveyard to be banished to special summon a monster. Now we're looking at banishing your opponent's monsters from graveyard as well. The prior card we saw has the ability to send your opponent's extra deck monsters to the grave, and obviously that's going to help us in the fact that if we're going first, we're going to send those monsters to the grave and we're going to banish them before they can even get into them, which could cause them some real issues if they've got some key cards there. Its second effect, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, destroy as many attack position monsters as possible, then inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each Fusion, Synchro, Link, or XYZ monster destroyed by this card's effect. Wow. Okay. So not only do we have the fact that we're dwindling monsters by just destroying them and sending them to the graveyard, we now have a card that also inflicts damage to them if they do have them where we send them to the graveyard with this card's effect. Gee, this deck is really showing us, guys, a lot of different things. It's showing us that it has a few different options, which is what we want to see as duelists. Okay, let's get into the spells. Looks like they've got a field spell. It's another Dogmatic Nation Dragma card. So, its effect. You can only use 2 and 3 effects of this card name once per turn each. It says, neither player can target Dragma monsters you control with the effects of monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. Well, that's brewing. Straight up. We know that we've got some protection. That's what we want. We want to make sure that our monsters are being protected, especially too because we don't have the benefits of always going into our extra deck in this particular archetype. We want to make sure that what we do have from our deck on the field is being protected. Its second effect. If your Dragma monster battles an opponent's monster, after damage calc, you can destroy that opponent's monster. Wow. So it's almost now putting the fear up them that they don't want to attack this if this card's on field. Its third effect. If this card on the field is destroyed by opponent's card effect, you can make both players send one's monster from the extra deck to the graveyard. Wow. That's pretty exciting. This deck is getting better and better. I actually didn't really know all the effects up until now. I'm starting to read them all, and I'm really, really growing to like this deck as we get further and further down the list. Okay, so we've got a normal spell card. It says you can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn. Okay, or per turn rather. Effect. Send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add one Dragma monster or one Albus the Nullius Filius from your deck to your graveyard to your hand with attack less than or equal to the sent monsters. For the rest of this turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Okay, yeah, not a bad card, not a bad card. You can see that it's helping us get some recycle, get some search. It's going to benefit us by just getting some of those monsters from our extra deck to the graveyard so we can then extend further into plays of the bigger monsters to banish them and special summon. But obviously that can't happen this turn. We're just setting up for the next turn ahead of us. What's the next one? Okay, so we've got some traps. Normal trap, you can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn. Its name is Dragma Encounter. One of these effects are special summon one Dragma monster or one Albus the Nullius from your hand. Okay, not bad. The second one is take one Dragma monster or one Albus Nullius Filius from your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Okay, that's really good because we obviously have this first turn. We're going to have it set ready to go just in case we need to bring out those extra monsters to help our battalion against them bringing out their extra deck. Okay, the last trap card we've got is Dragma Punishment. It's a normal trap card. It says target one face-up monster your opponent controls, send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard with an equal or higher attack, and if you do, destroy the targeted monster. Until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck. Okay, so what this card specifically does is pretty good. So that means that we're getting rid of their opponent's monster, which could be troublesome for us. It means that we're going to get a monster out on field and it's going to be protected through other cards. What I like about this deck is that it's showing not just the same typical thing. It's giving us options. It's giving us the abilities to banish cards or destroy cards or inflict damage. It's giving us so much control over the board if we can get our monster effects off in our first turn. Okay, so what I want to do now is let's get into some gameplay, see how good these cards can be. I'm going to show you my personal deck build, and then we're going to go into, obviously, the gameplay. I've chucked in my ritual monsters because I absolutely love them. Let's see how they go, guys. Righto, so the deck build: 3 Elvis, 3 Adden, 2 Ecclesia, 2 Fleur de Lis, the Dragma Knight, 1 Maximus, 1 Cardinal, 3 obviously of the field spell, 3 of each of the traps because they're brilliant, and we're going to run the Shaddoll core throughout this deck and see how it goes. I think it's pretty good. I think it runs pretty well with it. 2 of our beautiful, beautiful ritual cards that I was talking to you about. I think we might utilise them. 1 Monster Rebo, 1 Foolish, and we're also going to run the Kaijus. And the reason why, obviously we want to be breaking down boards. That's what this deck's designed to do. The Kaijus will help us do that. Obviously we know what Kaiju Slumber does, but I want to talk to you about the Kaijus themselves. I've used specifically these 2 Kaijus because they're lowest in attack above 2500. And the reason being, if we use Kaiju Slumber or even Kaiju their monster, they're going to get a monster which is above 2500, right? So, when we use this card, the Albus Nullius Filius, to fusion, we're going to be probably targeting their monster, which is going to be a Kaiju. If it's over 2500 attack, it's actually one of the prerequisites for Bastard, the Ashen Dragon. So that's the reason why we run these ones of the lowest possible attack to 2500. Okie doke, so let's check out our extra deck. We'll start with by running 2 Herald. The reason I run this is because if we decide to send that to grave by using, say, this trap card's effect, we're going to get Herald's effect in grave to then search out our Saravis, which then has his own negate effects, which we can use later on. That can come in quite handy. We've got Elder Entity. We know what he does. He's a brilliant card. We've got 3 Bastard of the Ashen Dragon. Obviously, we're going to run it at 3. You know, obviously, he's got his 2500 or more attack. If he's in grave, he has his own effects. We've got 1 Barricade Blocker. This card I wasn't so sure on. I'm thinking about removing him from there. I reckon we can probably run a different card. I'm not sure yet, but we'll have a look later on. 1 Omega. Obviously, yeah, if he's sent to grave by that targeted effect of the trap, we can use Omega as effect further on to do other things and extend. And then we've obviously got our Shaddoll fusion combos. So we've got our 2 Constructs, 1 Shek, 2 Winder, 1 Grister, and 1 Annoy. So fairly basic, but you know, like any deck, I think they could all use some work. If I was to take a card out, it'd be definitely Barricade Blocker. He's not really doing too much at the moment. You know, there's other cards we can obviously extend into. But for now, this is the build I've been running, and it's been doing pretty well. So let's check it out. So guys, as you can see, we've let our opponent set up his field. We're going to play Kaiju Slumber. We're going to destroy his monsters. Hopefully he lets us. Yes, he has. Okay. So we're going to bring out monsters, 1 to our opponent's side of the field, which is specifically over 2500 attack. And the reason being, our fusion monster that's in our extra deck for the Dragma, his prerequisite is to use an opponent's monster above 2500. So let's use the effect of our Dragma monster. We'll use his effect to fuse away, discarding a card, and fusing with our opponent's monster, which is above 2500 attack. His chain uses a trap, trying to target our card. We'll use our ritual, go rituals, to negate that trap. And also he's going to try and use his monster to try and blow up our monster there, but our fusion monster is unaffected by monster effects. So as a result of this, we've got 2 big boys on board, and it looks like he's going to rage quit. Well, that's it from me, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you got a bit out of this video for the Dragma Archtype coming out in Rise of the Duelists. Make sure you like and subscribe to my videos, and thanks for watching.